right now what we're going to do is we're going to focus in on some of the functions in 360 for fundraising, really trying to hit as much equally as possible with campaign fundraising and PAC fundraising, both of which have some nuances that are different between them both. Generally with PACs, you don't spend a whole lot of time doing call time or dialing for dollars, but there is some situations where you would, such as PACs that don't necessarily pull payroll deductions, but who pull donors and one-off contributions, and to pretty much all of our clients' campaign and on the PAC side. So as you can see on my screen here, call time, dialing for dollars is one of the main ways of fundraising. Another way is doing direct contact, which would encompass both email fundraising campaigns and traditional letter writing fundraising campaigns. The third way, as many of you fundraisers know, there are some people who you can't get to commit to money unless there's an event where they can have access to a candidate or to a PAC president or something of that nature. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch on all three of these sort of primary ways to use 360 for fundraising. And as we go along, we're going to show you some of the unique features of 360, which will help you to conduct all of these aspects of fundraising. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to focus in on call time and dialing for dollars, and how we can use 360 to really pinpoint your targets. For me, the most powerful initial search in 360 is our advanced search tool. Using advanced search, which is under the search tab, will allow you to search on just about any field that you would like in the system, and at the same time really allow you to drill in on things. As a former fundraiser myself on a congressional level and on statewide races, I know that some of these the search function is extraordinarily powerful for really getting into whatever section of call time or dialing for dollars you want to focus on. Depending on the size of your district, whether you're running for a Senate or you're running for a congressional district, you generally want to narrow in on potentially a geographic area, or you want to really focus in on let's say, any one of a number of things. You want to fundraise in a specific Senate district because you're going to be visiting there sometime soon, or that nature. You can really focus in on geographic in every single field within an individual's record by going to the Individuals tab on the quick search, on the advanced search, which is the main, which is the default setting when you get to advanced search. But what I want to focus on right now is the receipts search. When you're doing receipts, I would say most of the time what you're doing is you're looking for people who, with your call time, you really want to focus in on people that are going to be worth your candidate's time or the president of your organization's time, or high-level executives who might be doing some fundraising on your behalf as a surrogate. You want to focus their time the most wisely. So one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're focusing on people who have a history of giving money in big chunks to your campaign or organization. So what I like to do is, I spent a lot of time in a congressional district, and one thing that we did is we started with people who had given $500 or more at any one time. The difference between our amount between and our aggregate between is, you might find somebody who's given $500, that is given $10 over, a long period of time and ended up being an aggregate of $500. But you really want to focus in on your amount of $500 in one-time contributions. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to focus in on people in this theoretical situation that, let's say, had given during the primary, or had given during an earlier part of the cycle, but you're getting ready to ramp up your general election contributions. You want to get more money in the bank. And so we're going to look at people who gave, let's look at people who gave just within the last calendar year. So this is theoretically, of course, maybe late next year, or you want to get some money in the bank, start earning interest, you want to start general election fundraising, you can do here. So we're going to start with the calendar year and $500, and go ahead and do a search. Now you can use whatever criteria you want, but just for these purposes, we're going to get your first list. All right. So within our test data set, this is going to be our list of people who we're going to focus in on. And this is our the search parameters we found. One thing that you want to know is if you're going to be doing this search often, targeting in on the $500 contributions within the last, let's say, calendar year, and you want to be able to pull that again after you've, let's say, entered in some data, you can save that as a criteria so that you can just do the search again, but it won't pull up the same list. It'll be updated by your most recent entered contributions. So what you'd want to do is just name this something like $500 plus calendar year, and then just, that would be the name of your criteria. But since you want to also name your static list, what you're going to do is put $500 calendar year, and then you're going to do something like pulled on, 8/17/11, right? And by having both of these on here, you can click Save All and Link, and this will save both your criteria to be pulled up on your next, the next time you want to search this by going to Load Criteria. You just load this, and then you can do the search immediately again the next time you want to pull this type of a list. But in the meantime, what we've done is we saved this as a list, and that's really the first place you want to go for when you're pulling your call time lists. So what you'd want to do to access that list is go to Search, go on down to the List Manager, click there. Your list your most recently generated list is going to be right here. And there's, of course, several different ways to go about call time. Some people just like to print out tons of sheets at once and then just go in and add some handwritten notes that might be, some information that, your fundraising director knows that you want to get to your candidate, or you might want to put in some handwritten notes that you pulled in before. What I like to do generally is have this list and pull up the individuals within that list. And then from here, what you can do is you get a current selection. So from your current selection, you can go back and forth and look at these people and see sort of their, you can go to their individual records. And so one thing that I would like to do, if I'm a fundraiser, is I'd like to go into their record and take a look at the information on here. Let's say that you pulled this up, you just happen to know some information on this person. You might want to put that in the notes field, and you could know, like, hey, this person's been active in the community. You have their bio on here, and these are things that can pull to what I'm going to show you in a minute, which is our briefing book page. Another thing that, as a former fundraiser myself, would have found extraordinarily helpful for, because it's one of the hardest things to sort of determine, is the ask. What are you going to have your candidate or executive ask this person for? And you want to make sure you maximize that amount, because they're more than happy to cut you a check for less than they expected to. And you want to make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table, that you're getting as much as you possibly can from any particular donor. And one way to do that is to use our Fat Cat's compliance check. What this does is it shows the confidence that this is the right person. Let me pull this over a little bit. That you're actually got a good confidence that this is the right person. You may not have the best confidence. Looks like this person has a lot of low. But you can get an idea that if you knew that this was the person, even if Fat Cats isn't sure, you'd be able to see the confidence level, what level of giving they've given. Our Fat Cats has both federal and state contributions that we draw from. You'd be able to see the amount of the contribution that they'd given in the past, their year-to-date contributions to that organization, their employer and occupation, which is a great way of being able to match. Okay, so we know that this individual is somebody who was an airline pilot, so you want to make sure that you know to ask this person for the right amount of money. And just by kind of looking here, if this was all very confident, you'd be able to know that they're given this much for a max of 1,000, a minimum of 23 cents, and an average. So you'd want to probably try to hit your ask for 1,000. And so what you can do is enter that amount of money as the ask as a note. So you might just be like, make sure that your candidate or executive asks for at least $1,000 from this individual. Fat Cats is extraordinarily helpful with determining the ask and making sure that you're not leaving money on the table. Next thing I want to show you is the briefing book. So what I would do is after going through this list, you start to look at people, you hit Fat Cats, you can enter a note based off of the Fat Cats information. What you want to do next is go to the briefing book. And what this will do is this will generate a PDF of our briefing book, which is really one of our most useful tools. And what you'd be able to do is see here, the basic information of the potential donor or attendee in an event. The briefing book is great at preparing your candidate for going to an event. If you had this person in a group in which was associated with that event, you can put these all into your staffing book, and then you would be able to say, okay, here's a picture of if the picture was uploaded, you'd be able to say, this is a picture of Richard Hart. You can see them at the event, have them ready for that, know that they've given you this much money. It makes a lot of the research in one-stop shop in the briefing book. And as you go down, you'd be able to see also your notes, right? So if you had on here, remember when we saw that community history activity, you'd be able to see that. You'd be able to see information on the bio, and you'd be able to see a line here that would say, ask for this much money based off Fat Cats data. And you'd be able to have that down there as a note. And so this is extraordinarily useful. The more meticulous research you do on your call time is going to allow your candidate to be able to make those types of connections, or your executive to make those types of connections with somebody. So I prefer to try to personalize our briefing book information as much as possible by going in from our list and printing out each person's briefing book PDF individually. After you're done with Richard Hart, you can simply click the back button. You'll go right back to your current selection and be able to move on to the next person that you want to set up a briefing book for. And this is really the best way to be able to get the most detailed information as possible, being able to maximize your ask by using Fat Cats, and having an aesthetically pleasing call sheet for your candidate that has all the information possible. Those of you who are fundraisers and candidates know that there's nothing more frustrating than not having the information that you need to have in one place. And I feel like our briefing book is one of the better that I've seen out there. So and maximizing it with Fat Cats just really makes it that much more useful. Another great thing about Fat Cats is we update it pretty frequently, and so you'll be able to see things like, I know some fundraisers out there who are in really competitive races are going to be in situations where you want to be able to track some of the really big donors in your district to see if they're coming close to reaching their calendar year maximums. They're able to give a certain amount to candidates, total to candidates, and to political parties and to other party affiliates, such as the RNCC or the DCCC. They can only give maximum amounts to those entities and to candidates. So, I've run into situations where some mega donors have come close to reaching those thresholds, and you can look at Fat Cats to see if you know that they're coming close to it, and making sure that you're hitting the people you want to as early as possible. So, as far as call time goes, Aristotle 360 is extraordinarily useful for maximizing your time. So the next step that I want to go towards is direct contact. Direct contact is something that is useful for any campaign out there, and and specifically for our PAC organizations when you're soliciting your eligible class, and you want to make sure that you hit them in as many ways as possible. So you want to make maximum use of mailings. There are several ways to go about this. Some of you might have a preferred way of doing your mailings already. You might have a vendor in which you just need to pull a list. You might have, you might want to use your familiar mail merge program such as Microsoft Word, or you might have a specialized program for your mail merging. You also may just like to use Aristotle for that. We do have a way to kind of create a mail merge in a PDF copy of a mail list in order to use. And so I'm just going to use a very simple demonstration of kind of how to navigate this. And you can always use your advanced search again and go in there and pull out kind of a specific mailing based off of geography or based off of any one of the fields that you're using in 360. The individuals is defaulted, so if you want to make sure you hit all people within a specific county, or you want to hit all people within a zip code that's in your district, or if you're running, you want to make sure let's say that you have an event that's going on, and which we will get to later, but you want to make sure that it's in a state senate district in which you are doing a joint fundraising event with. You can do all that searching from here. But in this example, what I want to do is just kind of show you how some of our quick selections work as well. And let's say that you're gearing up, you just won a big primary, or the calendar year has just ended, and if you're a PAC and you want to get your first big blast going on, and you just want to hit all the individuals that are within your system. There's a way to do that. The first thing what you're going to do is you're just going to go to search, quick selection, and then all individuals is the first one that's up here. And you'll be able to go here, and you'll have all the individuals that are within your system right away. If you want to just export this list and go through it in Excel, which I know that some people prefer to do, what you would be able to do is just straight from here go to Export Results. This will allow you to export your results in a standard Microsoft Excel export format, or if you prefer to use a CSV file for comma-separated values, you'd be able to select that here as well. You're also able to export as many fields as you want. The default fields that are necessary are last name first, and the default selected fields are here. You'd be able to additionally add, like if you keep track of mailing addresses separately from your home address, you can make sure that all of the mail address fields are here. If you want to make sure that like the do not contact ones are there, so that you can delete them later after you've got the Excel there, that's something that you want to make sure is accessible as well. One thing that's another calculated field that if you're doing your mail merge and you want to make sure is a part of the data that you're exporting, knowing something like the maximum receipt that they have given is to be able to merge into the mailing piece. You can export that as well here. So just knowing what the calculated fields are and kind of browsing through these is extraordinarily important. There's all sorts of things that you can add to your mail merge from this area. And basically what you would do here is just click Export Records. With the number that we've given, it could take a while. So if you're doing a ton of fields and you want to export and you want it to be notified once it's complete, you can click here, put in your notification email address, and then it'll shoot you an email with a link, and you can download it from there. Since we're just downloading a certain small number of fields, it does pretty quickly. What you'd be able to do is click here to export the file, and you'd be able to download it and have it on your hard drive right away to do your traditional mail merges or to send your Excel file to your vendor. If you do decide to use 360 for sending your dedicated paper mail piece, what you can do is you want to go to Activities. Under our Activities, we have all sorts of ways to contact people. One of them you can use is Correspondence Wizard. So you'd be able to go to New Mass Activity, go to the Mass Correspondence Wizard. And from here, what you'll be able to do is really kind of do everything that a mail merge would do straight from 360. So after you've kind of read what it's about, you're going to enter in your mass activity title. And instead of needing to search for all individuals right away, what you can do is just do the quick selection straight from here and select out whatever it is that you want to do. So your individuals or your different entities, if you wanted to send this to all committees, or even if you wanted to do something like set up ones to active legislators within your data set, you can do that from here as well. So after selecting, you're going to go to next. What you can do from here is you'd set what address you want to use. I would say that probably the most safe is the mailing address if you're using that as a business practice within your system. You can also do home or work, wherever you want to go with that. One thing that you do need to do is make sure that you select a sender. Since I'm a super user, I won't be able to have myself selected. So you'd need to make sure that you found a user on this data set to select. And then once that user is selected, it just will show that it's from that individual within the system. This is the subject and description of the mailing. This isn't going to be what is actually sent, but what it will do is allow you to look back at this when you want to search for activities that you've done. So there's ways to just search, like, okay, what email did I send last week to people, or what mailing did I send out last week? This would just show you, this is what you would search based off of. This is where you'd be able to actually import things. Now you can have, we won't cover this on this training, but what you can do is you can import templates for your emailing or for your paper mailings, and be able to import a template which you can set up somewhere else in the system. You could also enter your merge fields from here, so you'd be able to select any of these fields that you want to enter onto the sent email straight from the this part of the system, from this link. So what you'd be able to do is enter in your text of your email, or not your email, but your your direct mail, your paper mailing right here, and then you could preview it by clicking the preview button. What this will do is it'll generate a PDF basically for you to look at and see what you're going to be sending out. And then what you can do is you can immediately mark this as open, which would mean that this needs to be completed by somebody. Say you have an intern set one up, you can mark it as open, that it hasn't been sent yet, and then you can go back and search for your opened activities and be able to have somebody else put the final touches on it. Or you can mark it as completed, where what it will do is generate a large PDF with all the people that you're sending this email to, and you'd be able, which will take some time to generate, as many of you probably know. I mean, sometimes can take a while for a single PDF to generate. So if you're doing something to your entire base, this could actually be something that will take a little while to generate. And once you've confirmed that everything's done, you click Finish here. It'll start to generate your PDF. And once it's completed, you'll be able to print directly from that PDF onto whatever stock it is that you want to be able to send your letter from. And you'll be able to get that going and send your mailing out. And for doing direct emailings, it's the exact same sort of process within 360. Is you would just start here at Activities, go to New Mass Activity, and create the Mass Email Wizard. And this is essentially the exact same process. You're going to see the Mass Activity Wizard. You're going to go through and do every step the exact same way. I won't bore you with going through these steps again. It's the exact same ones. In fact, you can preview your email template from there. You can choose to send it all now or send them later, but if you send them later, you have to send them individually, one at a time. So it's just something to keep in mind. Is generally, you just want to send all of your emails at once and have them ready to go. You can select save lists and stuff. So if you wanted to send an email to, that call time list that we'd already made, you can do an advanced search, create a list that was specific, and be able to pull out your list here, and it would just go to the people's emails from that point. So the advanced email was the same thing. So doing direct contact in 360 is extraordinarily easy because you got a wizard to walk you through it. You can pick whatever selection of people you want to through advanced search. Just save them as a list, and bam, you just go through it step by step, and you'll be able to set everything up that way. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and show you a little bit about events. There's actually quite a bit that you can do with events in 360 that would be connected to, if you are a political party committee and you wanted to make sure that your joint fundraising compliance, it has the appropriate ratios, or if you're just wanting to do an event that wasn't a fundraising event, you could do that through there. You can do fundraising events. You could even set up like grassroots events, like if you wanted to have like a field event within the system and you wanted to hit certain thresholds, you'd be able to do all that as well, and associate these events with different activity campaigns. What I'm going to do here, though, since we're kind of trying to direct our focus to fundraising, I'm going to show you how to set up a basic fundraising event in 360 and some of the interesting features on there, and touch a little bit on web forms. Web forms could probably be a training all of its own or a webinar all its own, but I will touch a little bit on that as well. So events is next, and to start an event, you're just going to go to the Events tab and go to New Event. And this is our basic event setup. What you're going to do is you're just going to have a event title, so it can just be something like a coffee with a candidate, right? And you set up your day and time for the event here. Just say that this is going to go for an hour in the morning. You can set up the contact person for the event. What you want to do here is just have somebody whose information is available to be called. You can set up a phone number for them. And a description of the event. We do have a key issues feature within 360 where you'd be able to add something like, if this was like an environmental organization, then you'd be able to set that up there and it'd be searchable as a key issue. You can set up your basic event details here as well, so like where the location is, any of the RSVP information, how much money you want to raise through this event, and things of that nature. To get more options on this, you have to set up the basic framework on the event. So what you want to do is set up as much information as you know already and click the Save button. After you've saved it, then you can do a little bit more with this event, such as enter attendees. So let's say that you sent out one of your mailings, and in that mailing you put in all of your event information, right? And you started to get responses. Well, as you got those responses back, you would be able to add attendees to the system. So you'd be able to add one person at a time, or add a list of people that you know are attending that you've put into like a specific group or something like that. You can add people to the event from the add attendee and participant. After you know that they're going to show up and then they come to the event with a donation, what you'd be able to do is add them here. Well, what you'd be able to do is add a receipt, and then what it would do is it would show, you'd go to New Receipt, And then if they're marked as an attendee or a participant, so you don't have to say that they're an attendee, but they're just participating by donating, even if they can't come in to the event, you'd be able to pull that information here. And then once you add your receipt to the once you add a receipt and you can actually associate it with this event, then it will start to add to your totals and mark to your it'll show that it's associated with this event. So you'd want to be able to do that. And you can also mark disbursements. So if you want to keep track of how much an event cost, what you'd want to do is add the vendor as a participant in this event, and then you can associate their disbursements to this event as well. So you'd be able to see how much your event cost versus how much the how much you were able to make on the event, and you'd be able to see that that performance here, and that'll help you track how useful it was. If you're doing joint activities and you were giving some to federal and some to non-federal candidates, you'd be able to set those here for your Form 3X, I believe it's Schedule H, one of the H schedules. If you need to have that, you'd be able to set those here, and you can set ratios. They cover certain periods within the event here as well. So there's another thing that you can do with within 360, which would be to add a web form. By adding a web form, what you can do is really set something up on your website to be able to collect RSVPs online and have them automatically update your event. So what you'd want to do is assign your web form to an event, know what information you need to collect from them. A lot of that will be based on what form components you want to be able to have. You do want to check with your sales rep if you have it set up to accept credit card donations first. It doesn't just automatically do it. You need to make sure you have that set up. But then you'll be able to do things like add people to a group of RSVP to this event once they enter it in, and then they you can automatically have them update those lists through the add participant. But since this is assigned to the event, you don't need to do that automatically. If you want to have a disclaimer or additional notes, credit card, as you can see, requires other fields that the standard sort of collecting RSVPs would not. So, but you'd be able to assign these people to a group or to an activity campaign, which would be able to, like, if you had an event, a grassroots event that wanted to cover something like, vote no on HR 456, then you'd be able to do that here as well. But since we're concentrated on fundraising, we're not going to get into that too much. But this is coffee with the candidates already selected because we clicked the add new web form from that event, and you'll be able to add many more features to this web form, change the way it looks and everything else. And once it's all set up, you'd be able to save this web form. And once it's saved, you'd be able to do something. What you want to do is have this down here, save it, and then you'd be able to look at your web form would look like by clicking the URL that is generated after it's saved, and you'd be able to look at this is what people would enter and then submit to be able to set up their RSVPs, depending on how you set up the rest of the web form. So these events are extraordinarily useful for being able to keep track of things within 360, to see how well your performance is on your events and make sure that you're actually making money on your events. And kind of covers another extra aspect of 360. So that's the basic breakdown of like how to go about fundraising within 360. There's all sorts of kind of nuances that you can get into, such as using different search criteria, setting up several layers of criteria depending on, like, if you're going after kind of low-hanging fruit, or let's say that you get a a new kind of prospecting list from another candidate or from another membership pack, and those lists come in, Fatcats is a great way to kind of start things up and be able to do some of the research as to what kind of candidates these people are interested in, or see some of the issues that they're interested in. If you see that a candidate is, or not a candidate, but a donor is, really interested in an issue that your candidate or membership organization is interested in, you'd be able to, kind of focus your conversation on those things, based off of their donor history. And, a lot of times that's just what candidates need, is just a little bit more of a, focus in, a little bit more of a focus to be able to, make their call time easier. There's nothing that a candidate likes less than, going in cold without any right information, or they might start passing up on some good donors because they don't know, sort of the next step for being able to break the ice with a new donor. Sometimes just getting people in and knowing that stuff can be really helpful. So, and it's on one click on 360. You don't have to, look anywhere else or Google any place. You can just be, bam, this person's interested in this stuff, and be able to talk to them about that. So that's pretty much it as far as being able to use 360 for fundraising purposes. That'll leave us a few minutes to answer some questions. So if you have any submitted, or you want to submit some now, go on ahead, and I think Colin will be able to get that information over to me. So.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel. We have a few of them. First off, does Aristotle 360 come with a set of donors already in its database, kind of like what you were showing us earlier?
Right. We don't actually start things off with any donors. You have to come in with lists. But what 360 does do is we, once you start to get your initial lists in, you can use Fatcats for that. And another thing that we are starting to do is offer some consulting services for being able to help you figure out where to get your initial lists. So while 360 doesn't start with sort of a list of donors, what we would be able to do is say, hey, these are the places you need to look to start, getting your lists. You need to start looking at your own Rolodex. You need to start knowing whether it's like-minded organizations to ask them to donate lists to you. And once you start to get, your initial, excuse me, once you start to get your first lists aggregated, 360 will help you to know how to use those lists best. So.
Okay, excellent. Well, and one thing you'd mentioned was the Fatcats database. Do you know where the Fatcats database gets its information from?
We get that information from public sources, so we get that information from the FEC and from state organizations, from state Secretary of State organizations.
Okay, great. Now, one thing we were thinking about was how do you use VLO data with 360? Oh
yeah, absolutely. So, being able to select, using voter lists online, you are able to do things like, bring in voter history information and things of that nature. So really the best use for voter lists online is to be able to pick out targets that you want to have for, what's the word I'm looking for, like grassroots organizing purposes. So being able to go in and know that these are the sort of targets that you're looking for. Once you have a list of people, like let's say people who have participated in primaries over the last 4 years, and you want to be able to target those people for activism. What you'd be able to do is go into voter lists online, set up your your targets, download those targets. We can then integrate them into 360, and you can start targeting those people for grassroots activities, such as mobilize, having them be aware of your candidate, having them or your organization, then being able to have them do things like contact their legislator on like-minded issues.
Okay, and I guess another related question would be, doesn't Voter Lists Online include donor data as well?
Yep. Well, it doesn't include. I would say that it includes FEC, like if you have donated to the FEC before. That's a premium field, so you can pay extra to be able to know if your donors are, or not your donors, but if your um, targets have been so active in different, that they've been so active that they've actually donated money and participated in specific issues.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for that. Kind of just going back to Fat Cats again, we have another question coming up. How good is the matching with the Fat Cats database in terms of basic stuff like having similar names, for instance, Bill versus William, or address nuances, changes, things of that nature?
Absolutely. Fat Cats is extraordinarily helpful in doing that. You have to be able to get the maximum confidence level from Fat Cats. What you really need to be able to do is match similarities as far as the employer and occupation goes, and you need to be able to match similarities with address information. It gets to be a little bit more shadier with, not shadier, but I would say like less clear on things once you get to, really common names like a John Smith or, things that are, it's going to have so many options to go off of that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to track down. But, if anybody is itemized on a Form 3X, then they would have their employer occupation and address information on there. So we start to get, more confidence the more information that we have on a person.
Great. Okay, kind of switching gears for a minute. Back to the briefing book. Is there any way to get the briefing book in another format, say a PDF?
Oh, the briefing book is a PDF. So once you select the briefing book from your from 360, it will pop up as a PDF. I'll show you here real quick. Again, the briefing book view, which would be, as you can see here, it's got the PDF icon there. So as soon as you click the briefing book, it'll take a moment to generate, but once it does, it is actually a PDF view for you to modify as you want. So you've got the PDF here. You'll be able to print or save it as a PDF. So that is the only form it comes in is PDF. So if you wanted to do it in a different way besides PDF, you'd only be able to do so by accessing like specific fields that you wanted to export, and generally it would be on CSV or Excel.
Okay, and just kind of going along with the briefing book, where would you type the, I guess, quote-unquote, ask information so that it appears in your briefing book?
Right. My suggestion would be to use the notes field. So as you can see here, these are the notes that are within the record, and so what you'd want to do is you'd go down to notes, select here, you go to add note, and from here what you'd be able to do is set a category, or you can have not specified and a subcategory that you'd want, and then you would just say something like ask, and then just say, ask for 1,000. And then once you do this and you save it, it will pop up in the briefing book. So no other links, save and close. Once it refreshes the record with all the information on the notes field included, you'll be able to show that briefing book as well. So just take one moment here. I have a feeling that there's a couple people working on it right now. So just take 1 second. And guess we can probably just navigate away. Oops. Oops. So once you pull up your briefing book again after you've added it in the notes section, the ask would be right here. So that's where I would put it.
Great. Is there
questions?
Yeah, I think there's one more. Is there any other way you could use this besides for political fundraising, like say for charity?
Absolutely. I mean, like if you were, you know, if you're looking, if your organization, say, is interested in charity work and you wanted to use, you know, either fat cats or you wanted to use your, you know, your donors to be able to, you know, look for that sort of a, you know, if you wanted to do, like, let's say, surrogate fundraising, like your candidates wants to not only do fundraising for themselves, but they're in a safe seat and they wanted to do some charitable work, you know, you'd be able to use your lists for that as well. So it's really, you know, it's a general fundraising tool, and so you'd be able to use it for, you know, it would be effective for pretty much anything. Any other questions?
Yeah, well, actually, we do have one. Is there a way maybe you could touch on what we offer versus NGP? Excuse me.
Well, sure. I mean, I think the big thing that you know, that we offer that isn't is, I mean, the fat cat system is extraordinarily useful and is something that I've not seen with you know, any other service out there. And with everything being so integrated with 360, I mean, we're looking at being able to send, you know, your emails and being able to send your direct mails, having everything here. We have, you know, the briefing books being able to be that are much more aesthetically pleasing and well and better organized than any other call sheets that I've seen. That's really where I would say that our service is significantly more more useful. You know, I've used NGP in the past, and I know that it's effective for some things, but as far as maximizing what you want to do, you know, not having to go outside of the program to be able to do your research and to be able to, you know, focus your energies better and be able to kind of integrate everything from events to campaign, like being able to set up a campaign and an event and have everything be able to be accessed in one place is something that I haven't seen before. And I don't, you know, the synergy that goes into 360 as far as being able to save yourself and your campaign time. You know, like you've only got so many hours with each one of your staff members. You've only got so much time with each one of your interns. You know, and you know, it may seem like sometimes that with volunteers and interns you have this unlimited well of time, but you don't. And being able to maximize your dollar to vote ratios and being able to maximize your time. You know, I mean, it would normally take me to get BATCAT's sort of information. You know, that would take me hours of intern time, or it would take myself, you know, long nights of being able to, you know, poke around to be able to find this information. And being able to have everything right here, one place, have the asks down, makes it extraordinarily streamlined for being able to, you know, do your call time fundraising and stuff. So I know that it also saves your candidate and your executive's frustration from being able to have everything in one place and see the event information and seeing, you know, knowing what to ask people for. I mean, you're maximizing your dollars and your time spent, and you know, that's invaluable. So.
Excellent. Well, that looks like that's it from the floor.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you
Well,
all for your time.
actually, I spoke too soon. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah. One person is asking where they would be able to track any employee contributions directly to candidates. They represent a corporate PAC.
So be able to track. Oh, okay. Well, sure. I mean, if you have your list within the within 360, like your eligibles list or whatever, I mean, Fat Cats would work with that too. So you'd be able to track yourself even, so you'd be able, you'd be able to see, your employees would have all the information that they've given to your corporate PAC in there. And if I'm understanding the question right, if you wanted to see, other donor history, you'd be able to see things in Fat Cats to be able to know, like, if you're asking for the right amounts from people, or suggested amounts, I should say. I mean, when you're doing eligible solicitations for like membership organizations and stuff, what you'd want to be able to do is have suggested amounts that would maximize your contributions from that class as well. And so you would be able to use Fat Cats to maximize that as well. Is that my understanding of the question right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Cool. Yeah. So that's what you'd be able to do, and that's another thing that I think is extraordinarily important. Is you have an opportunity to suggest contribution amounts from corporate PACs and from labor organizations and things like that. And so if you have these suggested amounts on there that can kind of spring in a eligible member's mind that, hey, I've been I can give this much more or whatever, or that's sort of a starting point for them to think about, then that's extraordinarily valuable. So.
Okay, and one final one here, just kind of going back to Fat Cats. If someone provides us a list in advance, would we be able to match it with Fat Cats in bulk, and is that an extra service?
You would be able to see, I'm trying to think here on what the best way to do that is. I actually would have to find out about that, and that'd be something that we could probably, if you send us an email, we'd be able to find that out if it can be matched en masse. I do know that if you have I can kind of show you this interface here. If you go to reporting, you go to general reports, and then you go to the briefing book, you can print out your briefing books off of a list en masse. It does take a while to get all of your, to print out PDFs en masse. Like one thing that we have, some people try to do is they try to print a briefing book for a bunch of people in their system, and trying to do a briefing book for like 100 people at once. I mean, that's 100 PDFs that have to be generated at a time. So you're looking at like, sometimes a 15, 20-minute download. But what you can do is you can supplement your briefing book from there with FEC data, which is basically a matching on Fat Cats. And what it would do is it would look at the FEC data. If it's a strong match, and that it's pretty sure that it's going to be able to match to the FEC with any sort of confidence, it'll pull in that FEC data. So then on your briefing book, what it's going to show you is it's going to show you any money that this donor has already given to your campaign, and at the same time you'll be able to say, like, hey, this person that's in your district is also given to districts around you, or gave to a previous candidate who ran in the district that you're running in now, and you want to be able to know that. If it's a strong match, you can click that FEC data thing and match it to your briefing book, and it'll automatically download that for you. But I do want to warn you, because it's both PDF generation and it's searching the FEC Fat Cats like data set at the same time. So I don't suggest doing much more than maybe 5 or 6 briefing books this way at a time, because it's pulling from so many different sources. You could find yourself like waiting around for this to be finished in that time frame. So I don't suggest using this for much more than that many, but this would do basically what you're talking about, which is to match your initial lists with this data. And again, sometimes it's even better to use Fat Cats the way that I'd shown it, because what you can do is you can look over that list, and if there's a low matching probability, but the donor in your data set is this person because they have the same employer occupation or a similar one, to what you know of, then you would be able to eyeball it and be like, okay, I'm only going to take into consideration these 5 contributions on a list of 20, and be able to take those contributions and know that, okay, I need to ask them for $500 rather than $20 that this person who isn't the actual match on the FEC data is. So it's just more of a discerning eye. I mean, we can match on a lot of things, but being able to make sure with 100% or high accuracy that this is the right person is something that can be done with your discerning eye better than we can make sure it happens on another end. So.
Okay, yeah, that's all we have here.
Cool. So thank you, everybody, for your time. If you have any additional questions, feel free to send us an email, and we'll be or give us a call, and we'll be happy to answer any of them that we